Hi everyone, hope you're really well. Thanks a lot for joining me for another video. Today I'm going to show you some single string scale ideas that can really help you break out of any boxes that you feel like you might be stuck in and just help you to expand your fretboard knowledge overall. Sometimes I think we all find that the guitar plays us rather than us playing it. We can get really stuck in boxes, we get over familiar with certain patterns and feel like we can't really get out of it. We find ourselves playing the same old thing over and over. By taking those scales and playing them across a single string at a time, we can actually start to not only expand our knowledge of the fretboard, but come up with new ideas, new phrasing ideas, new ways of playing those notes. It's a great way of linking scale patterns together as well. So scale patterns that you might already be familiar with, that you're working on, this is a really cool way of linking them together so you don't feel like you're kind of playing around in one area and then up in sticks, moving to a completely new area. This will allow you to fluently move between those positions. We're going to be looking just at the A minor pentatonic scale for the purposes of this video. It's nice and simple. I'll also show you how you can extend it to the natural minor scale in A as well. But this will apply to all scales that you're learning. So whatever it might be, whether it's a major scale, minor scale, any of the modes, the same concept applies to basically every scale that you might be learning. So there's also going to be an emphasis with this on learning notes and intervals. So I want you to be thinking a little bit about the notes that you're actually playing. Great way to learn the fretboard if you're thinking of the scale in order, but also the intervals of those notes and their relationship with the root note to start off with. We're not going to be really specifically looking at any kind of chord targeting stuff in this particular video, but hopefully this is just going to give you some new ideas, some fresh ideas, help you utilize some cool techniques like slides, hammer-ons, pull-offs, that type of thing, and just get you using a bit more of the fretboard. So let's jump straight in. First and foremost, let's start with a scale. We're going to start on the 3rd string, and we're going to start on the 2nd fret 3rd string, which is our note A, and that's our root note, of course. Then we're going to go to the 5th fret of the 3rd string, that's the note C, and that's our minor 3rd interval. Then we're going to go to the D note here at the 7th fret, that's our perfect 4th, and then to the E, which is the 5th, that's the 9th fret of the G, and then the 12th fret of the G is the G, which is our minor 7 or flat 7, and then we go back to our root octave, the 12th fret. So all together. So as I say, it's definitely worth your time to think about the notes that you're actually playing, even say them out loud as you play them through. Up and back, A, C, D, E, G, A, G, E, D, C, A. So it's also really important not just to learn note names, but actually to learn the interval names and what the intervals are relative to the root note. So in our minor pentatonic scale, we've got A, our root, C, which is the minor 3rd, D, which is the perfect 4th, E is our perfect 5th, G is a flat 7 or a minor 7, and A is our octave. So once you've learnt the notes and you're confident that you can play them up and down without too much trouble, it's then worth relating it to any positions of the scale you might already be familiar with. So for most people, that would be position 1 of the minor pentatonic scale, which we'd find here at the 5th fret. And from that position, we actually find the notes C and D from our single string scale. Okay, so again, it's worth always relating these things to things you might already know so that they become added to your vocabulary rather than something completely unrelated to it. So the next thing to do is to try and practice this in a musical way. So what we're going to do is just play it over the top of a simple backing track and really just try and think about making sure we don't make mistakes, but also thinking about creating some simple melody ideas and just seeing if we can kind of get ourselves feeling nice and confident with it. So I'll give you an example of that kind of thing. Okay, nothing too complicated, but really just trying to build a bit of confidence in it, and see what kind of things we can come out with. You can obviously see that sliding becomes a really great technique to use to navigate between these positions. Pull-offs and hammer-ons also are really, really good for this. And is string bending. It helps you to see what notes might be available to you to bend to if you're using string bending. Obviously, the fundamental of string bending is that we bend to another pitch, which is in our scale. So playing along one string really helps us to see where the next pitches are actually in the scale, and therefore we can really aim for those when we're doing our string bends. Now, what we can do then is to just take the same concept and apply it to another string. In this case, we're going to have a look at the B string, and all we need to do is figure out where all the notes are from our A minor pentatonic scale on our B string. So we're going to start here with the C, and that's there at the first fret on the B. Then we've got the D note here at the third fret of the B string, E at the fifth fret of the B string, and then G, 8th fret, A at the 10th fret. This is our first time we get to an A note, our root note on this string. And then the 13th fret of the B is our C, and then we can kind of stop on D or even go up to E. Obviously, if you were working on this, I'd recommend that you kind of go all the way up, but for the purposes of the video, you get the idea. And so now we do exactly the same thing again. So look, backing track on, start practicing that, just get used to it. Keep it nice and simple. Kind of thing. And again, trying to relate this to the scale positions that you might already know. So these two notes here, the E and the G, which we find on fret 5 and fret 8 of the B string, are directly out of our position 1 minor pentatonic, and then also the 10 and the 8th fret of the B string, again coming from our like Albert King little extension. So again, really worth paying attention to where those notes are in relation to scales that you know, thinking about the note names, and also again about those intervals. It's worth having those written down just so that you can reference them as you're playing. If you really want to learn the fretboard well, if you really want to understand how the fretboard works and improve your lead guitar, don't neglect learning note names and interval names. It really, in the long term, is going to be so beneficial, I promise you. It's not a waste of time. Finally, really, it's just a case of combining those two to start with. We're going to just see if we can combine them with these small little note clusters that we're going to now get. So down here at the first 3 frets, we've got the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, then the 1st and 3rd frets of the B. We move into the next position. We can take the C here at the 5th fret, sorry, of the G string, and then 3rd and 5th of the B. Then we're going up into our kind of standard position of the minor pentatonics. That's 5 and 7, and then 5 and 8. And then next position would have 9th fret of the 3rd string, and then 8 and 10 on the B. And then the G, which is at the 12th fret, and then 10 and 13 on the B string. There's our A, so that's an important one to pay attention to. And that brings us up to the octave above this position, 14th fret of the G string, and then 13 and 15 on the B. Okay, so one more time with the back in. I'm just trying to put some of those little ideas together, and now we've got 2 strings to use rather than just 1. thing. So great way of really starting to expand the fretboard. Last thing I suppose we could do is just to think about adding in the natural minor notes. So once you get confident with the pentatonic, it's now thinking about adding in those extra couple of notes to make it the natural minor scale. And that's going to give us the notes B and F, which is the major second and also the minor sixth interval from our natural minor scale. So if we just take the third string again as an example, that's going to give us the second fret A, fourth fret is the B, so that's our new one, fifth fret is C, seventh fret is D, ninth fret E, semitone above that is the F, so that's another new one, then we've got the G at the 12th, and then finally A up at the 14th fret. So all together. Quick way with the backing track on that. There's the F. So hopefully that's given you some ideas to work with and to take into your own playing. Often we can get stuck in these kind of 2-octave blocks of scales, and I find, you know, a lot of times with the students that I've taught over the years that it can be a real kind of almost a prison cell of notes. You just get so stuck there that you can't figure out how to get out of it. Even when you've learned, you know, 3 or 4 different positions of the same scale, if you've learnt them all as blocks, sometimes just navigating between them can be really, really tricky. So by taking single strings at a time, creating the maximum amount of music out of the smallest amount of notes really, and then just expanding outwards on that, it's just a really nice way of looking at the fretboard. So I really hope you found that useful. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for more videos, and I will see you very soon for the next one. Thanks a lot for watching.